small, especially if you were really small. Uh-oh, now I'm about to get in trouble because of live stream.
Yeah, and please record
If,
too.
if you were small for your age, you were always younger than whatever age you were. You gotta get into the movies, you gotta get into the museum, you gotta get into something. So you gotta pay the little children's size, whatever. And usually it was free or it was a lot cheaper. And then people like me, you older, you need to go to school. You're too smart. I'll push you up in school so you older. Longest I thought I was older. Then I thought I was younger. And then, yeah, you know how old you are. You gotta think about it. You gotta stop and think. Um, I always gotta ask my sister, my older sister, how old are you? Okay. Okay, I got subtract some numbers. And then I can tell you how old I am.
Mhm.
They messed us up. They messed us up. Messed us
You
all
know,
way
you're
up.
talking about parenting. Um, I hope they uploaded. They may not. At Master of Our Thing, there was a guest who came in this past, that was Saturday, um, who said from Nigeria. I think his name was Omar Kamaluddin. I'm not sure about that. But if they uploaded, because it was recorded, he did a beautiful thing in Surah Isra's um, 17th chapter, starting at verse 22. I think for about nine, maybe nine verses, I can't remember. And the whole thing dealt with Islamic parenting and what Allah commands of actually the children towards their parents and the proper adab, meaning etiquette that you use towards your children. In Luqman, it talks about just that one single verse talks about don't say even oof to your parents. So be kind to your parents and don't say oof, meaning during the Arab time that was a harsh word. But
Yeah.
in the 17th chapter, it goes in details of what your obligation is as a child towards parenting, so towards your parents, especially as if they reach old age. And it was a really very
Oh, I love it. I
beautiful
will.
reminder. So if you
Yeah.
could so go to the masjidwarthing.org website and perhaps they have that uploaded.
Yeah, I will do that. I usually have this conversation with people as I go back to when I go home, and I talk to people and I tell them, I when I go home, I my mother says, can you stay till Sunday? Go to church with her. Sure. And I try and leave like in the afternoon so that I can go with her. It's a parent's thing to show off their child.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we showed them off when we were growing up and for show and tell. So it's their show and tell time now. So they show us off. Uh, the other thing I was gonna say is it just me or I wake up every morning, just how I know how old I am. That's what I was gonna say. The second side of it is I call my mom and I say, I know my real age now. She said, I was sick. Because every day I get up and I got more of these things on my face. My daughter too. So I know she's actually my daughter because it woke up. And at first I thought I said, thought it was breaking out, but it's more freckles.
Yes.
It's not the sun because sun ain't out. Yeah, well, now it is, sir. We got 70 degrees here on this coast. 72 yesterday, all day. Not just a little peek of the sun every now and then. All weekend, 72. And it wasn't the sun at first, because then the sun comes out, I get lots of them. But yeah, no.
Mm.
Mm-mm. So now, yeah.
78 in North Carolina all day yesterday in Winston-Salem.
Yeah,
70.
it's an anomaly.
It was 80 the day before
March.
that. Ha, ha,
It's
ha.
March. It's a weird thing.
Yes.
It's a weird
Coming
thing.
as a
It
line.
just means
It's
it's
coming,
tornado season.
coming,
It just means
coming
it's
as a
tornado
line
season. It's coming.
on his way. Oh man.
Yeah,
Coming as a
tornado
line.
holiday. The
Line,
water's
something like that.
rising. The water's rising.
Don't ever have to go to North Carolina, Cheryl, because I think they have wanted pictures out.
I
Wanted.
was there. I was there in Charlotte, and they said, what's your last name?"
Mhm. Yeah.
But they heard him, got me out
Oh, come on. You should have
at the
called
airport.
me. You should have
At the
called
airport.
me. I have friends in security. You should have
Yeah,
called
they
your
were
brother.
like, they said your plane is delayed. We can have you stay the night here, or we can fly you to Chicago, and you can stay the night there. It might be delayed further. No, I was leaving DC. You can be delayed in Charlotte or be delayed in Chicago. Would you like to know where I spent the night?
Charlotte.
Chicago.
Would you
Chicago.
say, Sister Amatullah?
I said Chicago.
Of course.
You missed an opportunity. Should
Uh-oh.
have been in the Queen City, Charlotte, North
No,
Carolina.
no.
Mhm.
I've done that once before, and then it took me 4 days to get home. No, no.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm in Chicago, I got a whole bunch more options to get home. Charlotte, they sent me from Charlotte to Tampa to Texas to LA. Oh, five
Which
flights.
airline?
Mhm.
Which airline was that?
American. It
American.
didn't matter. I took American and United. It didn't matter because you guys were having the tornado, so they had to go
Mm,
around.
yes, yes,
And
okay.
no, if I go to Chicago, I can get 15 flights a day to go home. All
But
right.
this show and being associated with Brother Fleming as a co-host, there, North Carolina just stays in the news, especially in the political arena.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
And I wanted to ask you a question, Brother Fleming. What about this gentleman? I'm not sure if his first name is Tim or Jim McGinnis, that had his arm broken by the Senator Sheehy from Montana.
Yes.
Were you aware of that?
Give me his last name again.
McGinnis.
McGinnis. He is a candidate. He's a Green Party candidate. He's a
Mm-hmm.
veteran Marine,
Mm-hmm.
and he went in his dress blues for a committee meeting. Um, I want to say it was maybe the military subcommittee or something like that. And he
Mm-hmm.
was very adamant against this war that the U.S. and Israel is waging, and
Mm-hmm.
by foreign accounts is losing. You know, the
Mm-hmm.
corporate media here in America doesn't give that picture. And so at the committee hearing, he stood up and he was saying, you know, this is an unjust war, blah, blah, blah. So security, they vamped on him right away. Um, and he kept on talking as they're dragging him out. And he's, you know, he's resisting. He's not, you know, fall out
Mm-hmm.
nonviolent, but he is trying to hold himself up standing so that they wouldn't get him on the ground. And this senator, he jumps in like he's Captain America, I guess, or whatever. And when they finally wrestle the guy to the door, he puts his arm around the door so
Mm-hmm.
that they can't get him out into the hallway. And this senator, at first, he lunged at his legs when he first came in. Then he pushed security people out of the way from the video. He pushed the security guy out of the way. When he came back around, he saw the guy had his arm on the door. and he took his arm and broke his arm. I mean, it was vicious.
What senator was this?
Uh, he from Montana. He's a Republican from Montana
Oh,
who, on the broadcast that I saw, they said, oh, Sabrina Salvati. It was on her program, Savvy Sav. She's a podcaster. And she showed the video and they broke it down step by step.
mm-hmm.
And talk about narrative. We talked about narrative with Aisha a couple of weeks ago. The
Mm-hmm.
senator said he came in to de-escalate the situation. He escalated the situation.
And this happened in what city in North Carolina was this? Do you
No.
remember?
McGinnis is a candidate from North Carolina. This
Oh,
happened in D.C. at a subcommittee hearing.
hearing. Yes. Okay. No, I
And
missed that.
it was
I missed
vicious.
that completely.
He's a firefighter. He's a firefighter now. And I forgot what city that they said he was a firefighter in. But it was, this conflict, this war is, for one thing, is splitting the country as far as people who think that it's just and those who know that it's unjust. And then the reporting as far as what is happening has been all over all over the place. And the narratives that are being spun are
Oh, yes.
really something for people to look at.
And this happened over the weekend?
This, let me see, I saw her talking about, I think it happened either last Thursday or last Friday,
Okay.
the committee hearing.
I'll do a
He's a
little
Green Party
investigation.
candidate. I forgot what district he said he was running under. Yeah,
I'll definitely look into that then. Thank
yeah,
you for the info.
yeah.
Yeah, I
For
was
the,
involved in a much more positive event at the governor's house in North Carolina. In fact, we had an iftar at the mansion on Thursday of this week. We'll talk more about that when our brothers come on, inshallah.
okay.
That was the first statewide iftar they had at the governor's mansion. Josh Stein, our current governor, a very festive occasion, a nice meal. Of course, it was all halal. We were able to make salat in the mansion, and he was there with his attorney general and other people in the staff. He has a Muslim sister on his staff, an African American who does 24 counties in North Carolina, including Forsyth County, Guilford County, where I live at, basically in this area. But a very high-spirited event. In fact, they asked me to be the keynote speaker as ACGG, coordinator for the state of North Carolina, or for the region. And then we had Dr. Baraka. She's a professor at Queens College. She made comments after I made mine, but very cordial, very inviting. He was very sensitive to our concerns as Muslims in North Carolina. We had about 125 people there, and it was by invitation only to participate. And of course, I discovered while I was there that the mansion itself was built by, quote, inmates in 1893. I'm saying the word inmates, prison inmates.
Yeah.
Of course, they didn't break down the demographics of those prison inmates, but I can imagine.
We know.
We know exactly who we are.
Yeah.
But inshallah, brother Imam Oliver Muhammad will come on. And sadly, I invited Imam Ronald Shaheed, Dr. Malashay Woodbury, and Imam Oliver Muhammad. I said the program started at 2 o'clock. So if they show up on the stream, please. And Ronald Shaheed should be the very first one to come on. He said he'd be on at 2 o'clock, inshallah. But we had a very festive time at the governor's mansion. In fact, CARE was there, and ISNA, and all the other organizations that represent the Muslim community. But they asked your brother to do the opening remarks for the occasion. So, very good occasion, very well received by the state government. Unfortunately, we had some brothers who lose the election this year, including our brother Nasif Majid. He lost his time, and we can talk about that later on. Yes, they came out against anybody who voted with the Republicans on any issue. So he was not the only one. There were three people who've been in General Assembly for some time. All of them lost because there was one group who said they had violated the premise of going over to the other side for one vote. And so they campaigned against him very vigorously. And I had a chance to talk to some of the candidates people who worked in their candidacy. And they were saying one group was a very conservative group on environmental issues. And they thought that by them voting to support Duke Power, they had violated, the worst crime in the world. So they had a $400,000 campaign against them on every kind of medium you can imagine, from Facebook, YouTube, all those mediums, to say they had violated the principles of being a Democrat, basically. And so they lost, three of them. But
the issue that they voted against?
Yeah, one of the groups that came out against him was a very conservative environmental group, and they thought that indeed they had let them down because they voted in support of Duke Power. That's a major energy company in this area. So by voting to support they thought they had violated a principle when it came to voting with Republicans versus voting always for Democrats. And so they campaigned rigorously against all three of them, and all three lost. In fact, one brother, he's the youngest senator we have, Muslim in the General Assembly. Inshallah, he'll be on when I come on again. He was only 32 years of age when he first became a senator in the state of North Carolina. So we hope to have him on next time out in the key host. We had a chance to talk while we were down in Raleigh at the iftar. Inshallah. But listen, as soon as you see Rwanda Shahid come on, please let me know so I can introduce my brother and get him started, because I think he's limited in his time today.
We have Michael Hameen has his hand up.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum. Would it be appropriate at this time for me to say a word about the Women's Month, honoring the women?
Can you speak up, Brother Michael? It sounds like you're far away from your microphone.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Yes.
I wanted to know if it would be appropriate for me to make a comment about the women's honoring Women's Month.
It's always appropriate to honor women. Just don't make it too long.
No. I try to be expeditious in my comments.
Yes, sir. All right.
So what I want to say is that the Nation of Islam under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad really represented respect for women and their abilities. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad had secretaries during his frailty, his illnesses. He chose secretaries to pass messages from him. He would have a secretary set a minister down for inappropriate behavior, whatever it was, going against Elijah Muhammad's rules. And when I I came into the community in 1969, and I had two Muslim sisters as my managers. They were managers of the bakery. I was a baker, and I was so impressed. They performed their duties in a very feminine way, but we knew who the boss was. Thank you.
You were clear about that, huh?
Yes.
And to be clear, they were the boss.
Yes. Hands down, no doubt. Do you remember Dr. Deborah Fazal, or
Deborah
Fazal? She was a powerful sister too, in charge of the schools at one point. She came down to North Carolina one time to do the white glove test at the school. she took no excuses. You're gonna meet the standard or not meet the standard, nothing in between.
Yeah.
But while I was in Chicago, I think she had just stepped down when I got to Chicago in '74. But I knew about her even before then, because we had a K through 12 school here in North Carolina for a long time. And a lot of those kids went to college at 14 and 15. Some of them doing very well today. And the school lasted a long, long time. I think when there was a change in administration, the next administration didn't see the value of holding on to the school, unfortunately. So now they're trying to get together what they call a strong end school on the weekends instead of a K through 12 full-time school as we had once before, inshallah. But I want to go ahead and give attention to the theme for today, and I hope our brother will come on very shortly, and our sister also, as a way of recognizing Women's Month contributions, etc. Even though it's an everyday celebration of our sisters, in many regards, we should always reverence the wombs that bore us, and that means many different levels, not just physical birth. That's why I have Dr. Melisha Woodbury on today to share with us some of her achievements at A&T State University. She's also an elected official here in Forsyth County. But our first guest should be, inshallah, Brother Ronald Shaheed. He wants to give a few comments on some of the books he's been able to author, including the most recent one, The Treasure Under the Wall, Thursdays with the Imam. And some of you may know that he and two other brothers would visit Imam Muhammad every Thursday, spend some time with him, and record what he would tell them about different subject matters. And from those conversations, they gleaned those many books that Imam Ronald Shaheed has published, about 20 of them so far, on just the conversations they had with Imam Muhammad. And they were given very specific instructions from the Imam that they could publish them and do what they want to do with them, but by all means publish them so people would know what his tafsir was on so many different issues. And my prayer is that he'll just tune in a second now and join us. But if you don't have a copy of The Treasure on the Wall, I'll put it up here like this. It's a thick book, but every page in here is worth reading twice. It just so happens some of the people he talks about in the very first 100 pages I work with in Chicago. Some of them I was a little surprised the activity they were engaged in, because I worked, as some of you know, with the Boss Rasul as National Secretary. Me and Clyde Lemaine and Brother Terry X. Mason, we were all volunteers on the Secretary staff. And we were the brothers who would count those money. We'd raise $1 million in 90 days to buy that airplane for the Army Elijah Muhammad. And we would give the report, of course, to Boss Rasul. He would go to the house and brag about his achievements. But we were the ones doing the work, keeping up with those accounts, etc. And it was a good experience. We worked on the south side, on the west side. We finally established a little small masjid on the west side of Chicago. And we were assigned to be the secretaries over there and treasurers. And then we bring, of course, money over to the south side to turn money in whenever we, of course, collected money. But that was between 74 and 76 when I lived in Chicago. That was volunteer work on the secretary staff. And Allah blessed me to work at the school there, Muhammad University of Islam, from 74 to 76. Under one sister, I'll never forget, Sister Marvel, who's now Sister Salima, my principal. There's so much I can say about her, but I won't on this occasion. But she was very dear to me in many regards. In fact, I wish her a happy birthday the other day through Imam Muhammad Abdullah. He's got some challenges right now. For those that may know Muhammad Abdullah, make a dua for him because he's having some challenges right now, very serious challenges. I saw him in the janazah for Sister Wanda Sharif in Atlanta when I came back from West Africa at the peace conference. We went straight down to Atlanta to participate in her janazah. My wife and her went to Spelman back in 1973, 72, and 74. So they've been knowing each other for years. In fact, we've been friends for 50 years plus. And so we made our respects. And then, of course, saw our brother Curtis, her husband, for all that time. He was a Morehouse man. She was, a Spelman girl. It was very common activity during that time. The Morehouse men and the Spelman young ladies to connect like that. But another sister in that same group, Sister Aisha, who was a lieutenant at number 15 for a long time. She and my wife were the best of friends. And Sister Aisha was from Birmingham, Alabama. And they all got together when we were down there. Had a wonderful time reconnecting with each other. So a lot of our brothers and sisters of our age are making the transition to Allah. So we have to appreciate every moment we have. Don't take it for granted. Be thankful and be grateful, inshallah. But I got off track there a little bit. But I may have mentioned before that we have a theme for the American Coalition for Good Government this year. And the theme is entitled Honoring Our Past, Strategizing for Our Future, and Planning Our Future. And in that regard, I want to read something very quickly from the book entitled Muslim Unity, Imam Muhammad's book, very short book. But I'm going to read one short paragraph from this book under the theme of unity. And it says, and I quote, "We are addressing the concerns for Muslims' unity as the basis for Muslim unity. I will begin by saying that my feeling is that over those centuries that witnessed the authority and power and influence of the United States and the Western powers, Muslims have become reactors rather than having the deciding purpose before us. We're given more to react to than to what should be the group conscience of Muslims. This is something that we have fallen into unintentionally because of bad situations and bad circumstances for our Muslim life in most of the international world. I know that's one small paragraph, it's a very small book entitled Muslim Unity, and he goes into detail on what we need to do to continue the effort to having more Muslim unity internationally. And one of his focuses is that we have forgotten how important it is to address the individual needs instead of just the group needs. And he makes reference to what some of the they call them the glorious caliphs did. They always gave attention to the individual and made sure they would develop. And from that perspective, you eventually will grow community concerns, but you got to pay attention to the individual growth and make sure they have what they need to be successful. And then he makes reference even back to the friends of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him and his family. Of his first associates, they were friends of his. They were very much concerned about the individual growth. So we can't lose that connection. And he says a lot of the Muslim leaders have lost that connection with the individuals. It's not just a group dynamic, it's the individual dynamic that creates a cohesive group. And that concept, I think, is very, very germane, especially today and what we're facing in this international assault, I would say, on the Muslim world to a great degree. But the book, The Treasure Under the Wall, some of you probably remember that whenever you read the 18th surah in the Holy Quran, there's a section that talks about the wise man that Musa and his servant ran into, and the wise man couldn't be quiet enough to listen to the wise man told us Musa not to ask him any questions. I'm just sort of paraphrasing the narrative. And one of the things he asked him about was why did he build this wall back? It was falling down. And of course, eventually he said, you have to leave me because you don't have the patience I told you to just listen instead of questioning me. But when he answered the question about that wall, he said, well, underneath that wall, there was a treasure that should be inherited by two young men when they get to be adults, of course. And Allah had, quote, made this declaration that indeed that wall should be rebuilt. And if you look at the book, The Treasure Under the Wall, it's the last chapter that talks specifically about that treasure. And there are some parallels to Jonah, etc. But we also represent a treasure as a people who went through an experience almost in the complete triple darkness, as we called it, that we had to go through to come into the light, to be able to see clearly what Allah had planned for us all the time. We just were not conscious of it. But my prayer is that our brother would come on and talk about how this book was, organized, what led him to it, and give some insights on the construction of it, what he had to omit, because it took him quite a while to put this book together. In fact, I think one time in a conversation I had with him, he said it took about 15 years just to decide what to put in the book because he had so much material that he had to go through to make it, one specific book. But there are about 528 pages in the book, plus the epilogue. But it's worth the read. It is indeed worth the read, brothers and sisters. And that's just one of many that Imam Ronald Shahid has been able to publish. I think I have a copy of all the ones he's published. The first one is called, I think, Reading is Fundamental, and it reviews for you many of the books that Imam Muhammad read over his lifetime to give him his perspective on not just scripture, but also history, etc. So if you don't have a copy of his books, I'd encourage you get a copy of the books that he's been able to put together on those Thursdays from Imam Muhammad's personal conversation with these three brothers at his home in Chicago.
Brother Fleming, Brother
Yes.
Michael has his hand up. He's had his hand up for a while.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see him.
Brother
Brother
Fleming,
Michael. Yes.
yes, the epilogue is very inspiring. I hope that I asked Imam Ronald on another program if he would read it, but he said that it's difficult for him to read that language, but it's very powerful and compelling language, the epilogue.
Yes,
And
sir.
I hope that you will be able to share that epilogue because it's really inspiring, you know.
Yes,
And
sir.
lastly, Imam Muhammad identified Prophet Muhammad as a suitable to receive the Quran. And years later, I studied that place in the Quran where the wise man rebuild or strengthen the wall after they were rejected. You know, the
Mhm.
hospitality was rejected by the
Yes.
citizens there, but he rebuilt the wall. And in his explanation, you know, he had talked about the orphans, and Imam Muhammad described the orphans as Prophet Muhammad, prayers and peace be upon him, and the African American community, uh,
Right.
being the two orphans. And the word for wall, I looked it up. It's JDR, Jedara, and it also means suitable or appropriate. So there's a key in terms of the wall protecting the treasure that I won't go into, but I thought it was very interesting. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you, Brother Michael. You took some of my thunder. I was going to read the epilogue later on, but since you brought it out, and we're waiting on Brother Ronald Shahid to join us, I'll share a few notes on the epilogue of the book, The Treasure Under the Wall, Thursdays with the Imam. And if anyone sees this number come up, please interrupt me as I share part of this epilogue from the book. The treasure's still there. So for most Thursdays, for nearly 4 years, we sat in the quiet of Imam Abdin Muhammad's home, notebooks in hand, digital recorders on, hearts open, ears straining to catch not just his words, but the pauses between them, the spaces where his spirit spoke just as clearly. These conversations were never hurried. They unfolded in a purposeful manner, deliberate, layered, intimate. And though his passing has left his home silent and empty, those Thursdays still live with me. I often find myself reflecting on the hurried car trips that we made from Wisconsin to the south suburbs of Chicago to confer with him. It's not habit, it's memory pulling at the sleeve of the present. People ask me what he was like in those moments, away from the microphones, the gatherings, the public expectations. My answer is simple. He was consistent. The same man you heard at the podium was the man who sat across from us sharing his commentary, scriptural insights, and also his friendship. He was always thinking, always seeing deeper than most. But what stood out most was how often he chose humility over spectacle, substance over shine. Was someone trying to say something? Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Okay. Um, one Thursday, as I mentioned earlier, he shared with us a passage from our holy book, the Quran, one you may already know. It's about the prophet Moses who vows to travel far and wide searching for the function of the two seas, the treasure, who finally meets a wise man who helps him to discover it buried beneath a crumbling wall, an inheritance for two orphan boys who lived in the town that had just rejected them. And explaining to us what these two orphan boys were, the Imam said, that's the prophet and that's us. That is us as a people. So we've got treasure, deep treasure, but most of us don't know it or don't know where to dig. That's how the title of this book came to me. The treasure under the wall. It's more than a metaphor, it's a map. The wisdom the Imam shared wasn't for us alone, it belongs to you too, to all who are searching, who feel a stirring in their soul that there's more to faith, more to life, more to understand.
your sound went out. I think your sound went out. Anthony. I think your sound went out for a little bit.
My
Unless
sound went off.
no, just for a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, unless it's just my computer, I don't know, but it seemed like the sound went out.
Let's see what's going on here.
No, I didn't find that on my end.
Okay, so maybe it's just my computer.
Okay, all right. one other little section, one little paragraph. This book isn't a monument to Imam W.D. Muhammad. It's a window into a way of seeing, a way of being. I hope you felt as you turned these pages. I hope, like me, you found yourself nodding, pausing, maybe even whistling under your breath when something clicked inside you. But most of all, I hope this isn't the end. I hope you return to the conversations. I hope you gather with others and ask the same question we, Morocco, El Ghani, and I, ask on those Thursdays. I hope you become curious enough, patient enough, brave enough to start digging for the treasure under the wall. And remember, ma'am, everything Muhammad is the wall ace, a wall-less. Thanks for sitting with us. Ronald Shahid. I apologize for the mic going in and out like that. But you know, brothers and sisters, it reminds me of the first time I met him in Washington Muhammad in Chicago. It was on a Wednesday afternoon, and I'll be quick about this because I hope our other guests will come on. As I said earlier, I worked on a staff of Abbas Rasul as a volunteer. So I'm in the office. Imam Muhammad first started coming out on Wednesdays. And he came into the office and he had a trench coat on. You know, our habit then was to always be, service to the leadership. So I reached up to him to take his coat off. And he immediately said, brother, no, I can take my own coat off. That told me volumes about the character of every man Washington Muhammad. So he took his coat off, he folded it up, he put it on a little stand, and he went into the office of the boss Rasul. And they had a pretty heated conversation. I won't go into the details of it, but it was not let's say it was a direct conversation about some matters that he had to address with the boss Rasul. But that was my first encounter with Imam Muhammad. And the second one was him actually leading the prayer in the basement, the way we should pray. And I remember having white socks. He made the reference that he had people who knew him, he had ashy feet. So he always wore white socks at prayer time, at Jumu'ah time, or any kind of salat. So those fond memories of Imam Washington Muhammad. And of course, the greatest one, before I left Chicago, he invited my class over to his home to have dinner to congratulate them for finishing their high school. And of course, in that class, there was Imam Darnell Kareem's sons, Qasim and Naeem, his brother's kids when they're Jabbar's kids when they're Amir Muhammad, Lada's son, etc. Quite a few of the family members in that same class. And so he wanted to congratulate them and encourage them to be of help to their parents also in the religion. And at that same dinner table, he encouraged me to go back to graduate school because I made application. I just didn't follow up. So I left Chicago, go to Arizona to get a degree in international management, to come back to work for Salam International. That was my intent. We had my brother ran Salam International, but things happened. And I ended up not coming back to Chicago, but going to New York instead to work on Wall Street. Just fond memories, reflecting a little bit on that time with Imam Washington Muhammad. And I tell people all the time, if you heard one thing that he said, if nothing more than one sentence that impacted your life or your heart, thank Allah for that. Just because the man was just that powerful and committed to his faith. I don't know how many of you heard the story about when Amir's a pretty big guy. This is like his little, no, it was little. I'll give you an example. In high school one time, there was a little boy in my classroom, Brother Bernard, who wanted to challenge Amir physically. Now, Amir stood about 6'2" and weighed, close to 250 then in high school. And this little brother maybe weighed 90 pounds. So with one arm, Amir sort of pressed him against the blackboard, and I stood between him and told him, chill out, etc. But Amir was telling me later on that he used to work for Imam Washington Muhammad, and they were at some place in Chicago. And Imam Muhammad said he got word from the FBI that they were out to do some damage to him, some harm to him. He wanted Amir to be aware of that. And he told Amir, you stay in the house. I'm going to go to the car and crank it up myself. And then I'll tell you to come out. Now, if you ever get a chance to talk to Amir, you're still a pretty big man now, of course. He'll tell you this story about how much courage Imam Washington Muhammad had and how he never was afraid of anything. And that here's Amir 3 times the size of Imam Muhammad, But Imam Muhammad would have to crank the car up, so Amir, of course, wouldn't be harmed if anything was to happen to him in cranking the car up. Just another small example of the kind of leadership we had in Imam Warthaddin Muhammad. So I always thank Allah for having the privilege of being in his company. Even to hear him one time was a tremendous blessing that can live a lifetime in my life anyway. All right. If you see any of my guests come on, please let me know as I pause for the calls.
Yeah, we don't see anyone yet.
Yeah, okay.
But I think it's important that we have some discussion of what has been going on in the world and some of the alliances that we see that are setting up around this war that Israel and the United States are waging. This illegal war in terms of international law and the Constitution of the United States. I personally know of three young members of our community, one family, they're in, I believe that they're in maybe Dubai, I'm not sure. The daughter of Brother Enrique Rashid, who was an imam here in the Sacramento area, he's a Bay Area native. He's now in Indonesia, I believe, working at one of the universities here. His daughter, Aida, and her husband and their two children are in Dubai, near the airport, I believe. And so they are in harm's way. And also, brother Naeem Shah Jr., I did get word from him that he's in Jeddah, that if he had been here in the States and was on his way back when the conflict broke out. The company that he works for, was saying that it was safe, but I think we should all make dua for those from our association who may be, because there are others, I'm sure, who are doing work or study in the area. I like the way one broadcaster, it might have been the Times of India or another foreign publication, refers to the area as West Asia as opposed to the Middle East. And I like that West Asia designation. But so just so that we remember and make dua for the safety of our believers in that area and for the people, the civilians in that area. From all nationalities. There are a lot of Filipino guest workers in the country and also in Israel. Also, I believe one of the first people to be killed in Israel was a Filipino home health care worker. They reported that she was killed trying to get to a bomb shelter. So I think that we should keep these people in mind who are in harm's way because of corrupt leadership. That's what it is, corrupt leadership that is willing to risk the lives of innocent people for their own greed and corruption and ego and uh, thirst for power and dominance. So we're blessed. This is a very trying time for us fasting. They Israel deliberately attacked during the month of Ramadan. America deliberately attacked during the month of Ramadan. But I guess they didn't study history and learn about the victories of the Muslims when they were attacked in Ramadan and when they beat back their attacking. So I would be curious as to what others um, on the line or in our gathering, what they think as far as with what is going on. And to me, it is shameful, the response of the Democratic Party, our Congress people, for the most part, and our senators. You talk about quieter than a church mouse. These people have been so quiet as far as the illegality and the absolute cruelty and inhumanity of what has gone on, that it's shameful. It really is shameful. Brother Michael Hameen has his hand up.
Yes, I'm very much aware and concerned about the nature of our government being very oppressive, and the lack of sensitivity of the citizens in terms of the harm of and the killing and, or I should say unaliving, and the uh, the serious injury that's being dealt out by governments like ours to the citizens of the world. And lastly, want to say we need to be concerned about our own safety here in America. You know, we have not had, uh, uh, well, we have had some incidences of what the quote unquote terrorism, uh, the domestic as well as others. But with this kind of insensitivity of bringing the citizens of America into a war status unconstitutionally, I think we need to be aware uh, of players reaching out to large to gatherings where they can commit injury to our citizens. Thank you.
Yes.
One thing that I heard that was reported, again, this was not from corporate media. This wasn't from CNN.
Excuse me.
This was one of the foreign stations. What they said was the reason why, for one thing, they say that Israel, Tel Aviv, has um, sustained severe damage. And there was, right now, there's investigation going on because the Iranian military leaders have claimed that they were able to hit the target of Nevatim, which is a key military installation in Israel. And Israel has claimed that their interceptor defenses were able to um, destroy and disable the drones that had been sent before they approached the target. And so now, one commentator said that whenever you have competing narratives like this during the fog of war, that intelligence analysts and military analysts start their own analysis and investigation to see what is the truth in what is being presented to the public. And that they would first look at satellite uh, photos over the area, and that could delay it because of the weather conditions, and the conditions with satellites to be able to see, well, what did this base look like before the incident? What does it look like now? And that would help you to determine, was it severely struck, or is the Israeli narrative? So it'll probably be another couple of days before we really get a sense of that. But the importance of this particular base is because it's supposed to be the hub of the Israeli defenses, the whole Iron Dome defenses, and other, other missile capabilities that Israel had. And then also, I think it was on the same broadcast, or it might have been on another one, but all of these are from foreign agencies, news agencies that are reporting. They said the reason why Iran, they send over it's like a rush of these drones. And the reason why they were able to get through is because the interceptor missiles, as soon as the missile is launched, is picked up on the radar, but the radar picks it up based on the metal of the missile. And what Iran did with these missiles that they launched, that they were constructed out of wood and plastic that would not be picked up by radar. And when they would launch them, they would launch these drones, but when they picked it up on radar, it would appear as a flock of birds as opposed to missiles that were incoming. And so this is how they were able to fool the interceptor missile, which I thought was very interesting. If that is true, I think it was ingenious of them to use other materials in the construction of their missiles that the Israeli defenses would not be able to pick up. And then the other aspect of it that affects, and I think we mentioned it on a previous broadcast, so many the different countries in the Middle East, like the UAE, Bahrain, Saudi, Qatar, because of their allowing over the years. And when you were reading that piece on Muslim unity, Brother Fleming, it made me think about this. They allowing our country having significant military bases on their land, primarily to be able to shore up Israel, made us, the United States, vulnerable. And Iran, militarily, it seemed like a smart thing to do. They're striking the U.S. military bases in these Muslim lands. Now, if these Muslim lands, if they were in unity, if they had a history of unity with Iran, perhaps they would not have exposed themselves as much as they are right now at this moment in this particular war. And it seems like Iran is in it, and Iran is in it for the long haul. I think that Trump and Netanyahu figured that we'll do a shock and awe kind of thing, and it'll be over, in a weekend or a week at the most. But no, Iran is it's not going to be like that. We are going to make you pay for what you have done. And I think that that's the shock and awe to Trump and to Netanyahu at this point. So it's a very, very serious situation. And as Brother Michael said, we have to really pay attention and to be aware, and especially public demonstrations of what we do. I think we have to be aware of the kind of actions that we take.
Yep. Yeah, one of the conversations I had with a small group of moms when we had the celebration of Iftar was really around the nerve center that nobody's talking about in that whole conflict. You can't really call it a war because a war engages two people with somewhat similar military might. That's not the case between Israel and the United States militarily. There's no comparison with what they have in their armor versus what all those Muslim countries have. But this is the one they're trying to push. They're trying to really put a schism between Sunni and Shia. Iran is the Shia capital, of the world, basically. And by them responding the way they did, most of the countries they hit, of course, was Sunni populated. And if you remember back, if you know any history about Persia, the Persian Empire never gave up. If you just do a little casual reading of them before it became Iran, that was a very, very powerful. In fact, it was the largest empire at one point in the world. So the Persian people have a rich history of resistance. They made, I think, a very calculated mistake when they thought that would end in 4 days. That's not in the history of that people. But beyond that, it saddens me to see that whole area of the world erupted like that following Bibi. I'm going to get straight to the point. Bibi is leading the nose of our president by a string to engage his country into a military situation that benefits who? When have we been attacked on any regard from the Iranian population of people? Never. So to say that was a threat to America is just a big falsehood. And I got into a conversation with a few of these scholars when I was down there. I don't call myself a scholar, but I do read. And so I reminded our brother, I said, listen, go back to Surah 105, called Al-Qiyah, the elephant, and just see what the result of that effort was when Abraham thought he would just attack even Mecca at the time with elephants. The outcome was not what he perceived it to be. Even the birds showed up and dropped pellets. If you go back and read that little short series, it's only about 5 AIs. But it gives you a history about how secret that place of the world is. So it really, really bothers me to hear people dropping bombs on Saudi Arabia, even though I know Saudis got in trouble with Osama bin Laden because they had allowed American bases to be built there. That was one of his grievances with his government. He said, y'all have allowed this holy land to be used by Americans, and this is my protest against that. Now, what he chose to do, I cannot agree with at all. But that's been an ongoing criticism of that government for a while. And it goes way back to Wahhabi when he established that with the assistance of Saudi. And that's how the country got to be named Saudi Arabia after that, a coalition that they built together. But it's it's something I think we have to be mindful of. Be mindful of the history and don't let anyone pull us into away from our independent thinking, our own analysis. What do we think is happening? What's the best application for our security going forward? And always have a balanced approach to things so that we can see beyond what the media is saying. I listen to Al Jazeera quite a bit just to get another perspective. Sometimes BBC does a whole lot better than our corporate entities in America, the usual CBS, ABC, NBC kind of thing, because it's primarily the same story. If you just go by the corporate news reports, and I would tell them, I used to teach media, I said, listen, you cannot cover the world in 28 minutes. No way. Not to mention commercials that interrupt those 30 minutes of the world report. It's impossible. So just know for a fact, all you're hearing are tidbits, paragraphs of what's happening in the world. You got to read more, study more, and get a broader perspective of what's really going on in the world for yourself. And always be a critical thinker. Why was it in the month of Ramadan that this incident happened the way that it did? What was their intent? What were they trying to encourage? And I say that because I remember the interview that Tony Brown did with Imam Muhammad years ago. And he asked Imam Muhammad, the way we were traveling in America, could we have been a fourth arm? He didn't use the word arm, he used another word, leg of anyone who's trying to destroy America. And Imam Muhammad said, yes, if we followed a certain mindset, we would have been a built-in threat to this country. And I'm just saying this to Imam Muhammad said, we have to always remember to think for ourselves. My dad taught me that. Don't follow anybody else's thinking for them. Think for ourselves, brothers and sisters, and apply common sense to problems that impact our community. And don't just fall for what they call the yoke-a-doke. As Malcolm said, we didn't come to America. I think Plymouth Rock landed on us. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. I'm just paraphrasing. But the end result is that we got to think for ourselves, brothers and sisters, and be very sensible in our application of what's really going on in the world. And use Imam Muhammad's tafsir. He was very pragmatic about that. And I think that's our protection to a great degree, inshallah. Even these worst of times. I've only been around 74 years, but I've never seen this much disruption in that part of the world. And the use of bombing in 11 different countries all at the same time. So I just pray that Allah will make du'as to Allah, see if we can see better, see clearer, and bring some peace to that part of the world, inshallah. I spent enough time. Let's hear from our guests. And I'll make a few comments later on, inshallah. Anyone else want
Brother Michael has his hand up.
Brother
Yes.
Michael?
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
This,
assalam.
this idea of strategic interest uh, has become a real trap for our government, uh, and the way that it has performed, in the past, supporting. I remember President Eisenhower apologizing for the assassination of African leader, and I think even Bill Clinton also made apologies. This idea of disrupting governments in Africa and Asia and supporting governments like the Zionist government. Uh, and lastly, we think that this is a secular focus, but we've seen the head of the FBI, COINTELPRO, based upon scriptural knowledge, looking for a leader that would unite the African Americans. So these governments are very much aware of Scripture, and particularly the Quran and what it represents in terms of not just uh, supporting the suffering people, but giving us the tools by which we can change the paradigm of oppressive governments. Thank you.
Do you want to elaborate on your last sentence, Brother Michael? The Holy Quran gives us the tools for
Yes,
how we
ma'am.
can change the paradigm of oppressive government.
Yes, ma'am. Not only the Holy Quran in terms of supporting what is just and fair and equitable, but also Prophet Muhammad's example in terms of modeling the Quran in telling us to oppose injustice. We can use our hands, we can use our speech, and if we're unable to do either of those, we can hate it in our hearts. So we're giving strategy. Al-Islam gives us strategies in terms of how we deal with oppression and how we deal with Almighty God, whose intent is to change the paradigm. And a lot of people misunderstand the limited free will of human beings is what is primary in terms of the oppression or the justice in the world. We have a principle of belief called qadr, and qadr represents that the Creator brought everything into being from nothing, and in everything that He has created, it has the potential for good or for harm. If we use it correctly, we get the benefit. If we misuse it, we get the harm. And that includes our choices, the choices that we make. Thank you.
Thank you. When you reference a Qadr, it brought to mind, I did hear an Islamic speaker who was encouraging people during Ramadan, during the last 10 days, the odd nights during those last 10 days, especially, we try to seek out that the Laylatul Qadr, the night of, or like the night of power, or the night of decree, which we believe that during that night that um, Allah, in His knowledge, um, sends down the decree of what is to occur in the coming year. And this particular speaker was saying that Allah does give us the um, guidance that that night of power, the significance of that night, which is better than 1,000 months, which is roughly about 83 years of life, is that during that night, we can seek Allah's forgiveness
Excuse me.
of our supplication to ask Allah or to beg Allah for forgiveness and through that forgiveness to perhaps change our circumstance in that year that is coming up. And so that is why we are a way of being forgiven and also um, asking a lot to it's just asking a lot to perhaps change our hearts and change the hearts of other people. So this is a good opportunity for us to really ask Allah to bring peace, if it is His will, to the world and to the people in the areas that are affected, and also to strengthen us if times get hard. Get harder because of what's going on and the corruptors, to give us the strength to stand up, like you're saying, brother Michael, to be able to endure the challenge of that time. So your mentioning of the qadr made me think about what that particular song
Mm.
is saying.
Yeah, it made me think about.
That's the mistake that people like Netanyahu and Trump make.
Mm.
Allah tells us in the Quran, man plans a plan, and Allah plans a plan.
That's the plan.
Allah is
Yes.
best of planners. And so these arrogant, corrupt leaders, they they think they know, they think they see, and from their arrogance, they're so blinded that there are many things that you would think, well, common sense would tell you don't do this because of that. But the arrogance blinds them so that they make these foolish moves, and innocent people, you know, suffer as a result of the moves that they make. That's why it's so important that when we exercise our constitutional rights, that we really look into the background of the people that that we put in office. In the midterm, and then 2 years from now, um, when we have the federal election.
This
Yeah.
is something. I think Sister the Honorable Cheryl wanted to say something. Cheryl, you want to make a comment? I thought I heard you. Clear
Yeah,
your throat there.
I'm gonna keep it really short because I don't talk about this stuff in on these forums too much for a reason. But I do want to say we do have to keep in mind, I get it. We're all Muslims and we operate from a different paradigm, but not everybody does. And everybody doesn't see this from a moral lens. But what I want us to remember that this has nothing to do with religion. This has nothing to do with moral. This has nothing to do with democracy. This has nothing to do with trying to set something correct, no matter what comes out of their mouth. This has to do with money. Everything they do. This has nothing to do with even power. Everybody keeps talking about power. No, it doesn't. It's nothing to do with that. It has to do with money. If you track where these aggressions are, the aggression in Venezuela was because they wanted that oil. The aggression they're going after Iran, or else they'd be going after Iraq. They're not doing that. They'd be going after Saudi. They're not doing that. They want that Gulf of Hormuz because it's the number one Gulf to get oil in the entire world. That's what they're doing. And yes, you're right, Brother Fleming, that he's following the lead of Israel. And Israel is determining where to hit. Because now he's talking about Cuba. Cuba's been minding their own business. They ain't did anything to anybody, been minding their own business. But in order to, you need Panama, Cuba, you need that port, those ports that are coming through Central America. So just watch. I want us to always, I know we always say this, insisted this you're saying about connecting the dots. Follow the money. Follow the money. They care about more money than they care about their family or anything else. Money is the power. They don't care about titles or anything, any of that. The titles only get them to the money. So I just want us to focus on this because we can focus on our faith and all of that in the background, but they're not listening to that. So we got to get people to see what they're doing. That's why you have the vast majority of people in this country saying this is wrong, because even the Republicans are seeing that he's wrong. But we have to quit making it that is bad. The Democrats need to do something. No, everybody needs to do something. The Democrats and the Republicans, because it's not gonna be enough that it's just the Democrats. It's gonna be everybody has to stand up. And the fact that you're having the same people who empowered him are now the people who are saying, no, we got to stop. No, no, no. You can't keep doing this without coming through us. War powers are vested in the Congress, not in the president. The fact that they're standing up and finally saying something is really, really important. And we have to keep pushing that narrative to them to say, yes, 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 yes. We want you to keep doing that. We want you to keep doing that. We want you to take back control. Even though if we don't like you, we still want you to take back control, regardless, Republican or Democrat. We still need to push that narrative because that's constitutional. And it can't be only constitutional when the people we like are in power. It's got to be constitutional. And we got to get back to that immediately. We have to get back to that. And then we got to keep praying on the backside as well. We can pray on the front side, we can pray on the back side. Because I also found it interesting that you chose to do this in the month when we are the most resilient. Ain't nobody scared of you. And we ain't scared of you anyway. But we really ain't scared of you in Ramadan. We ain't scared of you. You probably should have waited till May or something. We ain't scared of you. But I did want to tell you, follow the money. Follow the money.
So important, Sister Cheryl. Let me make one comment for 30 seconds, if I may. Cut me off for 35. As most of you know, that I'm a student of history too. And I heard Imam Muhammad say that if we had an Islamic government that he felt followed the Holy Quran, he could say in so many words, that's a good government. But he had not seen that yet. And I want to show you very quickly what the system of government was like during the early history of the Islamic community during the first caliphates. And I've shared this before. It's called system of government. There were 7 fundamental rights. And this will show you how far the Islamic world has moved from that was established by Prophet Muhammad. And here's what they ensured the individuals for. And forgive me for a minute. I hope my microphone doesn't go out on me. The fundamental rights are: number 1, security of life, property, honor, and privacy. The Holy Quran support for this is 17th Surah, Ayat 33. And who do not take away the life of anyone which God holds sacred except for a just cause. Number 2, the right to protect against inequity and injustice, supported by the 4th Surah, Ayat 148. God doth not like any evil to be talked about publicly unless one hath been wronged. Number 3, freedom of faith and conscience, supported by Surah 2, Ayat 256. There should be no compulsion in religion. Number 4, protection from slandering of one's religion, supported by Surah 6, Ayat 109. Revile not those whom they call upon besides God. Number 5, right of equal treatment. Pharaoh surely grew domineering in the land and created rifts among his people. One group of them he willfully humiliated by slaying their male children and letting only the female children survive, for he was indeed evil-minded person, supported by Surah 28, Ayat 4. And number 6, freedom of association. Let there be a band of people among you who shall call men to goodness and enjoin what is recognized on all hands to be good and forbid what is considered to be evil. And these are they who will be a force for progress. Surah 3, Ayat 104. And the very last one, number 7, the right to insist upon goodness and to prohibit civil. You are a band of good people, raised up to be a model for mankind. You enjoin the right and forbid the wrong, and you repose faith in God, supported by Surah 3, Ayat 110. Now, those were the tenets of the administration of government during the early Caliphate administration, and it stems from the Medina Charter, which I make reference to it quite a bit. But those were the principles that were sort of guaranteed in that system of government. Now, how many Muslim countries do you know today that abide by those seven tenets? I would challenge us to do a little research to see if any of them are doing that. And that's why I always emphasize we should always be critical in our thinking, have an independent analysis of our own that we make our own conclusions from. It's very, very important that we do that, inshallah. So much to be said about this topic, but I'd like to hear what others have to say. And I agree with my sister. I was in the height of college when we had the Watergate situation, and all people said was follow the money, follow the money. And that'll answer a lot of questions for you. It's very, very important. And I've told them many times, I've been in a lot of interfaith discussion. I said, look, a billionaire is a billionaire is a billionaire. I don't care what shade he wears or what he has on his head or her head. A billionaire mindset is different from those of us who work every day for a check. And we have a billionaires club mindset running this world right now from America and from Israel, unfortunately. So we can't just base our decisions on that alone, inshallah. All right.
Brother Michael Amin has his hand up.
Yes, for me, the Quran establishes best practices, and
Brother Michael, can I ask you, can you get closer to your mic, please?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Is this better? Is
A
this
little bit,
better?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, for me, the Quran represents best practices in terms of our behavior as individuals as well as groups. Uh, Imam Muhammad told us to pray to Allah for what we need and then go get it. If we need insight, we need foresight in terms of navigating these sensitive issues that we're involved in. So we have not because we ask not, according to previous scripture. So ask Allah and then go get it, for strength, for insight, for ability to strategize against these oppressive strategies that are coming against human beings. Um, Allah will help us and Allah is helping us. The ability, lastly, for us to speak out and encourage other people to speak out. Uh, yes, it's about money, but one of the ways that oppressive individuals and governments deal with getting material gain or benefit, they use oppressive tactics. They use the ability for them to have control and power. So it's a sensitive area, but it's not simplistic. What's being worked against us. Look, as citizens of America, and this will be my last comment. As citizens of America, we've been socially conditioned to be individualistic. That's the environment of America. Rugged individualism. That won't get us where we need to go now. Thank you.
Yes, that's an important thing. And then also, I think we have to pay close attention to the narratives that we'll see coming out as this conflict, this war, is extended. I believe that they're going to, or they have already, historically Netanyahu has labeled Iran the axis of evil. But there are reports now of Cuba, Cheryl mentioned Cuba, North Korea, China, and Russia forming an alliance with Iran. and making some demands. Now, I have to look and investigate more from different sources how accurate that reporting is. If it is true, I'm sure that the narrative of the corporate media will be similar to a historical, let's say, how Russia was the boogeyman during the Cold War era. They have concern that Russia has provided Iran with some of the missile capabilities that it has to combat the United States and Israel. So we have to really seek out to see what is being truly reported from whatever sources that we are listening to. And also, I think we have to listen with a very sensitive ear to the leaders of this country and respond to what they put out. If we're not happy with the position or the response that they have given for this war, then we have to let them know by
Yes.
contacting them, by voting them out. Whatever means, whatever constitutional means that we have, I really have a concern for our brothers and sisters who are in the military, just like I did for Kuwait and Iraq. That's a very difficult situation to be in. And you have to really have your thinking straight as far as if you are a military person and you're on active duty. What do you do? How do you act with your conscience? So it's a very challenging time for all of us. And we have to seek Allah's aid and assistance and use our common sense and also our intellect that Allah has given us. We seek the guidance of the Quran and the example of the Prophet. We know from the history that the Prophet's character was not someone who he was not a warmonger. He was not someone who wanted to take over territory. That wasn't what he was for. He was here to give the revelation. And Allah had to prompt him into, okay, it's time to fight now. And when he did it to the best, to the fullest extent. He did not back down. And his companions and the early believers, the same thing. They came against forces that were greater than them. Some people turned back, but then that's when you know who's with you. When you get in the fight, when you get in the fray, and you get those who say, "Well, I can't. I got something else I got to do today," or I'm not feeling too well. You think about the people who did that to you, maybe when you were growing up, when you had those little schoolyard skirmishes. Same thing with the early community. There were those who hung back. And the law tells us not equal with those who hang back, with those who are the mujahideen, those who go into the struggle. So, one thing that
I just got a text from Dr. Woodbury. She says she's trying to come on, but she's not being recognized. I'll be in the next 10 minutes to try again. I don't know if there's a problem with people calling in or not, but she said I'm running a little bit behind. This is at 2:28. I'll try again in 10 minutes. So I don't know if there's a problem with our system or not. Do you see a 336-997-2286 anywhere? 336-997-2286.
I don't see any phone at all.
Okay. Well, that might be an issue.
Maybe she should make sure she has the right credentials to get in.
Yeah, I sent them back to her. She said, Okay. I'm running a little bit behind now. I'll be back on in 10 minutes. Okay. All right then. Well, I'll check with her afterwards. Inshallah, we can do it again and we won't have any kind of technical difficulties. But what you were saying is so true. When you go on Umrah over there, even if you go on Hajj, you go on those physical sites where the battle took place, and you see where the believers obeyed Prophet Muhammad and came down off the hill. He told them to stay on that position, and you review all of those incidents, and you can just reflect for a minute, you know, to just testify to what you just said, Amatullah. So it's very important, very important to be conscious of that. And again, I don't know what happened to my guests, but I had 3 of them lined up for today. Imam Oliver Muhammad, they're building a $1 million complex down in Raleigh. They broke ground the other day in our community down in Raleigh, North Carolina. So we want to talk a little bit about that today. And Dr. Michelle Woodbury, I was going to honor her because it is, of course, Women's History Month. And of course, our beloved brother Ronald Shaheed. So inshallah, we'll try it again and have more success. As we always say, man plans and Allah plans, and Allah's the best of planners. So I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. But I know the hours beyond our allotted time of 3 o'clock. So Cheryl, would you like to have any comments? I don't believe it. I don't.
I mean, I'll take us out when we finish. When you wrap it up, I'll take us out.
All right, then. Okay. Well, in that case, let me thank everyone for participating today. And again, I apologize for my tardiness. For some reason, I was thinking we started 2 o'clock because the time sprung forward 1 hour. So my bad, as I say, as the kids say, it's on me. But I know from now on, 1 o'clock, regardless, and I will act accordingly. I'll act accordingly. But thank everyone for participating today. Inshallah, we learn from each other, and we achieve so much from just listening. In fact, I've been told many times we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for one simple reason: we should listen twice as much as we talk. So I hope we said something to educate, to inspire, to inspire you in some degree to do better for your community, for your family, and for the country, because we have an obligation to make a difference in the world, because our prophet indeed was a mercy to all mankind and all of humanity. So we walk behind him or beside him. Let's do the best we can to also be that way, a mercy and a blessing for mankind, inshallah, and womankind. Sister Amatullah, do you want to say anything before we turn it over to our Sister Cheryl?
Well, just want to remind folks that next Monday, inshallah, that is God willing, Imam Muhammad Abdullah Alaji will be joining us again on the 3rd segment of his going over his document, The Quranic Foundations of Muslim American Citizenship. We should have a very lively discussion next Monday. Tell your friends. Also, let people know that they can, if they weren't able during the day to join our sessions, they can go to YouTube and encourage people to subscribe to the AM360 channel, where on YouTube, where you can find the broadcasts of the different hosts on the AM360 channel. Following us will be optimal health, but we want people to subscribe and to share the recording of the programs that we have. And I encourage folks to pass the word about Imam Muhammad Abdullah Alaji next Monday, and some of the challenges that we will be facing during these times as American citizens. We have to find the Quranic foundation. How do we handle it? How do we handle it? And so, thank you, Brother Fleming, for your comments and sharing, and Sister Cheryl for your comments, and Brother Michael, inshallah, and Brother Muhammad Sharif.
Yes.
Thank you. I wanted to just tell you this. this weekend I was at an event, or it's called Sisters in Solidarity. It's a very diverse group of women, Black women, Latinas, API, women from the diaspora. We have this event once a year on International Women's Day. And there's a group called Saving Sarah's Daughters.
Hmm.
Caught my attention.
Whose daughter?
Sarah's.
Sarah's daughter.
Mhm.
Like Sarah from the biblical Sarah.
Sarah, yes, yes.
And they caught my attention because they had this. So generally speaking, for Sisters in Solidarity, they usually have this theme around purple, and they use the International Women's Day theme, whatever that is, each year. This year is Give to Gain or something like that. And it's some shade of purple always. I'm not big on purple, so the closest they're gonna get from me is a mauve because I like pink. And I walked in and I saw this beautiful, a couple of women with this beautiful sequined head wrap, sort of like how you're wearing yours. And of course, it caught my attention. And they were dressed, it was, at first I only saw two, and then I saw another one, and then another one. And so within like the first 30 minutes, it was a whole group of them. They had on like denim skirts, long ones to lay their ankle. And they had these pink, like baby t-shirts on, and it says Saving Sarah's Daughters in purple on the shirt. But they had their head wrapped beautifully. A few like me, but most of them had them wrapped like turban style. It's beautiful, pinkish purple, glittery. And my friend and I were signing in, and I said, and she was one of the ladies was signing in with me, and I said, now, if the purple was like that, I would wear it. And she said, I said, where you get this, sister? And she say, Hobby Lobby. And I said, oh, okay. I still didn't know who they were. I thought she was Muslim. I didn't know. And so, but as we got to talking later, because their table was next to ours, ours is Black Women Organized for Political Action, BWAPA. And we started talking. And I'm going to invite them in a couple of weeks to the show to talk about what they do. They're based out of Sacramento. And the first thing I saw, the first line, was about demonstrating through your actions and through mentorship the value and the responsibility and the necessity of modesty, self-dignity, and respect to save our daughters. I said, I gotta have lunch. I get it. The visual, they say, can you take a picture with us? I said, of course. So we took these pictures. But the visual, when you see this visual, you understand. It was just beautiful. And there's another sister out of North Richmond, Sister Anifa, and she saw them. She said, she came across because she and I were walking together. She came across them and she was like, I was read Muslim, and so when I first saw you, I was immediately drawn to you all. She said, I just knew you were Muslim. They said, no, we're most of them are Christian. There's a couple of them who are Muslim. But she said, I love it. I love it. So we were talking about it. And when you listen to them, you will see. I just think it would be a beautiful, just to hear what they do and how they work with their young women.
Looking forward to it.
Yes, I think it's beautiful. With that, I want to say in light of what's going on, the distraction that some of our lawmakers are causing, because I see some of this as a distraction, right? Some of these skirmishes they're causing around the world is a distraction to keep from having to face the truth, whether it's the Epstein files, the fact that you have to give back hundreds of billions of dollars of illegally gained tariffs that you can't tell us where it is, even though you told everyone it was in a special account. And if the courts ruled that you weren't supposed to take it, that you would immediately give it back. Now you're backwalking that because you know that somebody put their hands in the pot, follow the money. And now you're saying it's kind of hard to figure out how to give it back. Really? Don't you have somebody, Mr. Computer Whiz, as your best buddy? He can't write an algorithm? Don't you have all of Silicon Valley writing you hundreds of millions of dollars, $1 trillion worth of checks to do that really gaudy ballroom? Somebody can't write an algorithm and get these people their money back. But this is a distraction to keep people from realizing that you're robbing the nation blind and that you didn't release all them papers, and the papers that you did release and the photos you did release were meant to keep people from seeing what really happened. And that you're stealing children and babies and sending them away from their parents. And so what you did was, somebody got to take the fall. Sorry, Christy. We're going to send her to the equivalent of, if you remember back in the early 90s, Siberia. When you act up, you gotta go to Siberia. We ain't gonna fire you. We just gonna send you to Siberia where you ain't got nothing to do. I can't fire you because you know too much. So I have to send you to wherever they sent her. No job, no real duties. It's a distraction. However, what we do know is another saying of my grandmother's. I'm gonna switch it up for you. It says, a person often meets his destiny on the same road he took to avoid it. So you can go down Highway 80, up and around to it's 580, 24, back roads, and them detours gonna lead you right back to that front door, to that place you was trying to avoid. That pothole is still gonna be there. Still. That same thing you were trying to avoid is gonna come knocking on your door. Eventually. Eventually. You don't believe me? Ask the former Prince Andrew. With that, I say, with that, I say, so for those of you who are not being patient, I go back to what Sister Amatullah said earlier in a different way. Instead of man plans, I will say, we have a clock, and many of us are really impatient because we want things to happen in our time. We want to see it happen, and so we just want to rush the process, and we want to say, when is it going to happen? Our friends were like, well, sister, you keep saying that the just dues is coming. When? Stop looking at your timetable. Stop looking at your timetable. The Creator has his own timetable. And if you're really, really good, and if you just mind your own business, and you just stay on the pathway, stay on the righteous pathway, do the things you're supposed to do, you might get to witness. Might just get to witness. And if you really, really, really good, might let you have some popcorn and some jujubes while you witnessing. If you don't like jujubes, I'll throw you a couple of Hershey's Kisses. I don't know. I'm just saying. Just mind your business, like my grandmother used to say. Mind your
Mhm.
business. MYB. Mind your business. Just be good because you don't know. You're gonna get so entrenched on trying to want something to happen to somebody else. You're gonna get pulled into that pig slop. Then ain't nobody gonna know that you're not the pig. So don't worry about that. Focus on you and let God take care of all that.
Mhm.
Let God take care of all that. In the meanwhile, stay prayerful, stay powerful, stay politically engaged, stay civically engaged. Do something for someone without the expectation of anything in return. Don't ask for pats on the back or any glory. Don't tell anybody. Just do it because it's the
Mhm.
right thing to do. And you're going to get it some other way. That little burn in your chest, that's not heartburn. That's just good feeling because you did the right thing. Well, it might be heartburn. Just don't let me be the doctor on the TV. I mean, if it stay there too long, gonna take some Tums or something. But if you just feel good for a minute and then go away, that means you did the right thing. If it stay too long, take some medicine. Don't be coming on you talking about Cheryl told me don't take no medicine and you end up in the emergency room. This not my recommendation. Meanwhile, join us again next week,
And
right here, 1 p.m. 1 p.m., sir. 1 p.m.
I hear you.
Whether
I hear
it's
you.
Eastern Standard or Eastern Daylight, it's still 1 p.m. Let me not put two fingers up because you're going to get confused, sister. 1 p.m. on that
Uh,
coast where it's hard to get a flight out on time.
no, but the sun does
And
rise, so
then it's 12 o'clock. It's straight up high noon in the Midwest. And then it's 10 a.m. where the sun peeks through the horizon beautifully and it floods the sky so beautifully and it makes photos that galleries are made of. That would be the West Coast for those of you who are trying to figure it out.
it
We
also has
welcome
earth.
you back here.
Can I take 2 seconds before we close it out? Just to give you an update on how this guy's
Absolutely.
power is waning in North Carolina. We had a race
But of course it's
for
raining.
Senate position in North Carolina. The Senate Majority Leader is losing, endorsed by Trump. His name is Berger, being defeated by a sheriff from Rockingham County. The first night of the election was over. He was only winning by 2 votes. Now that's increased by 30 votes. This is supposed to be the most Republican in the state of North Carolina, and defeated by another Republican who
Mhm.
criticized Trump. Just to give you a flavor how this guy perceived power is not all that in a bag of chips because Allah is always in charge. I'll leave it there. Maybe next week we'll talk more about that, how the race is evolving, not just in that location as well.
Oh
Inshallah.
yeah. That would be great to have from all parts of the country. Let's look
Yes.
at the how the map
Yes.
is shaping up as we move
Precisely.
towards June, primaries all over. That would be great.
And I
All
think
right.
a lot of this distraction is to keep you out of the midterms, to keep you discouraged
Yes.
from participating. Don't you dare let anybody discourage you. You vote, no excuses. Vote, no excuses. Don't be discouraged. Be encouraged. I'll end with that, inshallah. And Sister Cheryl,
Yes,
go right ahead.
yes, yes, yes. And if we can help you in any way, make sure you're registered to vote. Make sure everyone around you is registered to vote. I know they're putting restrictions in, and you have to have IDs. If you need some resources to get IDs, don't let it stop you. I
Yes.
understand it's supposed to make it hard. But if we have to figure out how to make sure people get IDs, then we figure out how to make people get IDs. Let's not let's not be upset that we have to have IDs. Let's just get the IDs.
Right, right.
And let's just turn this into a moment that we don't and I want to talk about and we can do this next week, what resilience looks like. Resilience looks like, oh, okay, you want me to get some IDs? How many you want me to get? You want me to get 1, 2, 3? We just go use them IDs. Oh, you don't want me to drink water? You want me to pass out water online? Okay, we're gonna pass it out before they get online. We'll just stand somewhere away from the poles and make sure people have some water before they get to the post. Whatever we need to do to make sure people, oh, you know, you're gonna make it 30 miles? Okay, let's get a bus together and drive people to the, let's figure out what we need to do. We don't, there's more, like my grandmother say, one monkey don't stop no show. We figure out how to get people to vote. We can't mail it in? Okay, then we need to petition to make sure people exercise their rights. If they work, your job has to give you 4 hours before and 4 hours after to vote. Use it. Most of us don't do that. Most of us act like we can't take off from work to go vote. They have to pay you. They have to pay you. And most of us won't do it. Most of us run up there right after at the last minute to vote, and then mad we got to stand in line. Or we run up there in the morning, mad we got to stand in line trying to jump on the bus to get to work. They got to pay you. It's the law. So if they make it difficult for you to vote, tell your employer I can't come work yet. I gotta wait in line for 4 hours. Take it. I tell the people who report to me, fine, go stand in line. Stand in line. Don't you dare miss out on voting because somebody said you got to bring it in instead of mailers. So do what you need to do and let's figure it out together. But don't you let nobody not vote because it's an inconvenience. It's not a hardship. Hardship was getting dog sicked on you and getting whipped with hoses. It was hardship. This is not hardship. This is what I tell my peers. This ain't hardship. This is just an inconvenience. That's it. You can pay $200 for a pair of Jordans. You can pay $25 to get an ID. Stop it. That's it.
All right, then. Well,
With that, can I say it? Can I say it, sister? You got something else?
No, I'm good.
you
All
said
right.
it.
With that, that's a wrap. See you next week, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Ramadan
Happy
Mubarak.
Ramadan.
Let's say Ramadan.